Hello and cześć. Welcome to the Warsaw Narrative, the first English language podcast about the history of Warsaw. This is a new channel, so if you find this interesting, please like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you. What connects the British royal family and Warsaw? I'll give you a hint. It's a fateful night and a dead relative. To explain this connection, we have to go back to the year 1830. Poland is not an independent country, and Warsaw is part of Russia. Poland lost its independence after three partitions, which were a joint effort between Russia, Prussia, and Austria. The final partition in 1795 wiped Poland off the map. After years of Russian oppression, an armed Polish uprising broke out on the night of November 29th, 1830, which brings us to Maurycy Hauke, who was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Maurycy Hauke was a German general in the Russian army of Tsar Nicholas I. That night, on November 29, 1830, General Hauke was riding his horse along Krakowskie Przedmieście. Suddenly, he was stopped in front of what is today known as the President's Palace by a group of Polish army cadets who were part of the uprising. The cadets recognized the general and asked him to lead them. However, being loyal to the Russian Tsar, General Hauke began to deliver a speech in which he called the uprising foolish and urged the cadets to return to their barracks. At that moment, shots were fired and General Hauke fell dead from his horse. His Russian medals were stripped from his body, leaving only the Polish and French ones. It was later said that he had 19 bullet holes in his body. Next time you visit the President's Palace, find the lion statue on the right, and that is the place where General Hauke died. His wife Zofia died a year later, and both are buried inside the Capuchin Church on Miodowa Street in Warsaw. Now, our story turns to their daughter Julia Hauke, who was now an orphan. However, Tsar Nicholas, seeing how General Hauke stayed loyal to him, took young Julia under his care and protection. So now, Julia Hauke, who was not of royal lineage, had access to the Russian royal court. She became a lady-in-waiting to Princess Maria of Hesse, who was the wife of Crown Prince Alexander and the future Empress of Russia. Just like in a fairy tale, Julia, the poor Polish orphan, as she was known in St. Petersburg, found her prince. She fell in love with Princess Maria's brother, Prince Alexander of Hesse. This relationship was not approved by the Tsar, and the lovers secretly left Russia and were married in Breslau. Julia was now part of a royal family and needed a title of her own. To fix this, Ludwig, the Grand Duke of Hesse, gave his sister-in-law the title of Countess of Battenberg, Battenberg being a small town north of Frankfurt. She had 5 children with Alexander, with all her children receiving the same title. Their oldest son, Louis, was born in Austria. However, he became a naturalized British citizen and joined the Royal Navy at the age of 14. After more than 40 years, he became First Sea Lord, making him the head of the British Navy. However, due to World War I and anti-German government policies, Louis had to retire from the Navy and anglicize his last name. He considered changing Battenberg to Batten Hill, but decided on the much better sounding Mountbatten. Louis's oldest daughter Alice kept using the name Battenberg as she married into the Greek royal family before the name change. At the age of 45, she had a nervous breakdown and was diagnosed with schizophrenia. After her recovery, she devoted her life to charity work in Greece, and after the war, she started an order of nuns. For fans of the Netflix series The Crown, parts of Alice's life are portrayed in several episodes. Alice's youngest son, Philip, was born on Corfu, Greece, and was called Prince Philip of Greece and Denmark at birth. It was in 1947, at the age of 26, when Philip became a naturalized British citizen and assumed the name Mountbatten, just like his grandfather Louis. Also, in 1947, the now Philip Mountbatten married Elizabeth Windsor, who became Queen Elizabeth II in 1952. In 1960, Elizabeth and Philip decided that they would like their own descendants to be distinguished from the rest of the royal family without changing the name of the royal house. So now, when needed, the Queen's children would have the last name Mountbatten-Windsor. We will end our trip down the Battenberg, or, if you prefer, Mountbatten family tree at Charles Mountbatten-Windsor, who is now, of course, known as King Charles III. Philip, Charles, and William have all visited Warsaw and the President's Palace. I wonder if anyone ever showed them the place in front of the palace where their ancestor was shot and killed by a group of Polish cadets. To sum up, Warsaw's royal connection goes back to the November Uprising of 1830, when Maurycy Hauke, the great-great-grandfather of Philip Mountbatten and the great-great-great-grandfather of King Charles III, was shot dead. This unfortunate act for Maurycy allowed his daughter Julia to marry into the House of Hesse, and her descendants to sit on the thrones of Bulgaria, Sweden, Spain, and of course, Great Britain. One bit of alternative history to think about is, how would the British and European royal families look like today if General Hauke would have stayed home that fateful night? I guess we will never know. Thank you for listening, and if you found this interesting, please like, comment, and subscribe. Take care.